Thank you so very much for tuning in to this is the Prospect Planner, and this is our time where we dive into the pursuit of the college game beyond the baseball diamond, and of course, from the perspective of pretty much anyone who is involved with the game, including coaches. And that's where we're going here with a really fun conversation as we get the chance to really dive into the heart of a little bit of recruiting, what it's like right now, and of course, what we see from the coach's eyes. And it'll be from Coach Klunder of Wartburg College. He'll be joining us here in mere moments. But first and foremost, I bring in my partner in crime with this, and I say the partner in crime, the one and only Chad Erickson. And Chad, really excited to get this one kicked off here soon. It's always fun when we get the chance to talk with the coaches' side of things, because in the end, they're the ones doing the dirty work, getting out there, recruiting, seeing things, putting eyes on players, and a whole lot. So always fun to have these kind of conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it. Season's getting about ready to be kicked off here, and but recruiting is happening, and
all over.
Obviously, that's a full-time job too. So really, these coaches, along with Coach Klunder, they're working really hard. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and of course, their season kicks off in Illinois on the 22nd, and it's coming so quickly around the corner, man. I got to tell you, practice is starting up tomorrow. As we record this on a Saturday, but a lot of things in store here. And I'd say, Chad, let's stop. Let's get to it. Let's get right to it here as we get the chance to chat up with the one and only Coach Klunder of Wartburg College, and joins us right now on the hotline. And Coach, thanks again. I know that you're taking some time out of always a busy schedule. It never ends, but thanks again for taking the time.
I appreciate you guys having me on. You know how big of a fan I am of the show, and pleasure to be on with you guys.
And I do want to say here, Coach, one, we're right around the corner. Season just started. I mean, what's the feeling like surrounding you guys, the coaching staff right now? Every season is something else. What's it like? I hear a lot of good things coming out of what this crop can bring, but what are the thoughts surrounding the coaching staff right now?
We're really excited. In Division III, we get more contact days than we used to, and so we saved a number of contact days, and we'll use another one here this weekend before official practice starts on Monday. And through the contact days, the guys have just been working so hard. It seems to be good leadership on this team. We have high character players, which makes it more fun to work with them, obviously. And this is a group that I think is just going to keep getting better. Are we going to peak early in Illinois? Probably not. We're going to keep getting better throughout the course of the spring. And our goal is to play our best baseball in May. And this is a group that has a chance to do that with the leadership that we have, the character that we have, the work ethic that we have. We have far more attention to detail this year, holding each other to a standard. It's coming together really nicely. I really like this group.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And you mentioned there a little bit here the fact that some things have changed in how you're able to get in contact with your players and stuff. Can you take us through quick the full view of that? I know you said you get the contact days are a little bit different here for D3, but what is the full scope of what has changed over the last couple of years, and how has that, I guess, impacted I don't want to say the way you coach, but the way that you strategize out for your team preseason and in season?
So it used to be weeks, and if you used a certain number of weeks in the fall, you could use that, whatever's left in the spring, and people would do that different ways. Now there's just more flexibility because it's days. Not only did they open it up and give us more, but they also gave you more flexibility of what time of year you can use those. And so, a team can save some in the spring here in I say spring, January, in the winter months, and be able to use some of those and help the pitchers on ramp a little bit more effectively. You used to have to really, it was nerve-wracking a little bit to send your pitchers home for winter break and hope they come back in shape. And now it's a little different, that you can have a few more contact days here in January and throw some more bullpens and get ready to see live hitters maybe a little bit sooner than you used to be able to.
Well, yeah, no doubt about that. And again, a lot of fun when you take a look at everything that you're able to do. Man, There's so much that you have to go through these stipulations, this, that, and the other. And again, the fact I can only assume really a lot better ease on a coach's staff right now. Uh, but as we dive in, ladies and gentlemen, it is Coach Klunder of Wartburg as we're talking, chatting up with a whole lot of different things, a lot of great things, topics in here. And one of the things, Chad, before we get to you here, that I wanted to touch on right out of the gate here, Coach, is recruiting. Wanted to touch up on that because, man, it is one, how important and essential is it to the program? But two, the biggest thing, anytime I look out at the landscape, whether it be JUCO, D1, D2, D3, it seems like there are always changes being made to the landscape of how you can recruit. What is that recruiting? What's recruiting like now for you versus back when you started in the college ranks?
Yeah, and I haven't been in the college ranks forever, like some of the veteran coaches in our conference, but I will say that it's even changed in my 4 years as a college coach. It's obviously in some ways happening a little sooner, and it's certainly much more intense. There's so many teams in Iowa, as you know, you do a great job with your coverage. There's so many
Thank
teams
you.
in Iowa that are working really, really hard at it, and specifically in the American Rivers Conference. Every event. I know you guys have been at some of the PBR events and stuff.
Yeah.
Every event that is out there, we try and be at. But who do we see right when we get there? The other American River schools, the JUCOs in Iowa, and obviously the University of Iowa coaching staff on the Division I level. So and NAIAs too. So it's really competitive. And so it's all about right now. I think one of the things that's changed is the transfer portal.
Yep.
And uh, I read a stat this summer that there was 5,000 baseball players that entered the transfer portal this summer, and so 5,000 were changing teams.
Mm-hmm.
That was NCAA alone. That was
Wow.
Division I, II, and III. That was not including NAIA or JUCO. And so we could probably make some guess that 10,000 baseball players in the country changed teams over the summer.
Yeah.
That really changes the dynamic of it. And what we encourage our recruits to do is find the best
Mm-hmm.
fit for you academically or location wise or baseball wise. Really take in the factors that are important to you and what your value system is and
Yep.
what your family's value system is, and find the right fit. Because with 10,000 baseball players switching teams, and that's just in the summer. Obviously, the portal opened again December 1st when
Mm-hmm.
the Division Ones had to have their roster set and their numbers set. So obviously, some people were without a home at that point. And so there
Yeah.
was another transfer window then, and so there's a lot of moving pieces right now. So we say instead of trying to do that two or three times to find the right fit, ask the right questions, and we're very honest about who we are and who we aren't.
Mm-hmm.
If a scholarship's a deal breaker for you, we're not a great fit. We're not going to talk you into changing your values. We're just going to probably move on to somebody else.
Yep.
If academics aren't your thing, Wartburg's not going to be a great fit for you. And so we don't talk you into valuing academics. We just probably move on to the next person because there's no reason for us to, um, you know, lie about who we are. And then
Yeah.
when you get here in the fall, it's so easy to hop in a portal a couple times a year. And so we're really honest about who we are and what we're looking for, so that we can find the right mutual fit. And sometimes we use the analogy with our recruits about, dating and getting engaged and getting married. So before we ask each other to get married, we want to make sure we're the right fit, so that you don't have to, do this multiple times.
RDA Financial Network is a proud sponsor of IABaseball.com. RDA supports the sport of baseball in the state of Iowa. We believe the game of baseball promotes many values such as hard work, determination, and teamwork, values that matter on and off the baseball field, and values that we demonstrate to our clients every day in our offices across the country. RDA provides financial planning and wealth management services to our clients in 6 communities in the state of Iowa. RDA Financial Network is an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. RDA advisors may offer securities through United Planners Financial Services, a member of FINRA and SIPC. United Planners is not affiliated with RDA Financial Network nor IABaseball.com. Please visit RDAFN.com to find an RDA advisor near you. Yeah, that's great that you talk about academics. I think that kind of tends to get lost in the shuffle. And I was a D3 athlete, so I know what the academic rigors are like, and it's definitely something that you need to think about when you're going to an NCAA Division III school, because this conference in Iowa of D3 schools is very very competitive, uh, athletically, but also academically. And I saw you earned quite a few academic accolades last season. So congratulations on
Yeah.
that. I think that speaks to you're not just giving this lip service, you're actually putting that um, focus on academics into action. So congrats on that, coach. And that's wonderful stuff. So kind of piggybacking off of that, obviously you're going to look for kids who have a have some ability in the classroom as well. But what are the qualities that you're looking for when you're looking at these potential college baseball players, and what's the focus of your team on the pitching side and also at the plate?
First of all, Chad, I really appreciate the kind words. And I can't take too much credit. Our players get it done in the classroom. And Wartburg has challenge to the classroom and challenge to the degree. There's honor in earning a Wartburg degree, and we're really proud of that. We had a 3.5 team GPA this last semester,
Ooh.
and I have more team GPAs that start with 4 than start with 2 right now on the squad. So our guys have just done a wonderful job in the classroom, and it's fun to see them progress and get better. You know, we had some real improvements too. We obviously have some guys that have been in that 3.8 to 4 range for a long time. You know, my mother always says, don't forget about the ones that my mother was a longtime teacher, actually, educator of the year in the state of Iowa at one point. And she
Nice.
always says, don't forget about the ones that showed big improvement too. Remember to pat them on the back too. And we had a couple of those too that went from, you know, GPAs in the 2s to GPAs over 3.5s this semester. So we don't want to forget about them too. They did a great job. But to answer your question about what we look for, I'll just start off with we look for really quality people.
Hmm.
I made my wife a promise a long time ago that if I was going to spend as much time away from baseball as my whole family as baseball required me to do, I'd do it with really quality people. You know, we're going to Jacksonville, Illinois, as Andrew mentioned, here in about a month, and we're going to stay in the hotel. We got a kind of a long bus ride. I want to do that with really quality people that we don't have to
Hmm.
worry about at night, and we don't. I don't want to every Saturday and Sunday morning. I don't want my phone to blow up and somebody got into trouble over the night. That doesn't happen really with us, and so that's where I'd start. Is we recruit really quality people. Being a 18-year high school coach in Iowa, seems like that everybody we recruit in the great state of Iowa, they're only a phone call away from a couple people that I know.
Yeah.
It doesn't take me long to connect, and so can we get a hold of a coach or you know, even of a different sport, or I talked to a strength and conditioning coach the other day. Hey, how are they in the weight room? And so we try and get references on our players because again, if we're counting on a person to play a certain position and we don't want to over recruit that position, we want them to be a fit. You know, I can't have them have academic trouble and being eligible. We can't have them hop in the portal after a month and say Wartburg wasn't the right fit or we deceived them in the recruiting process. And so we try and find the best fits available. That starts with being a really good person. Next is you have to love baseball. We just talked about how the D3 rules have changed even since I started. And we almost have double the contact days they did years
Hmm.
ago. And so you have to love baseball. And then here's the other part is, you know, after fall practice, we saved a couple contact days over the winter to check in with them. But after fall practice to the start of when we use contact days here last week, you know, that's a time period where you have to love baseball to work. You know, it's right before the season. I always thought, you know, as a high school coach, what an advantage that you could do pitchers and catchers and now hitting days before you start. So when you hopped out there in May, you weren't, you know, trying to reinvent the wheel with 2 weeks before your first game. But I always got nervous for like football coaches, man. You know, even at the college level, they're gone all summer, and then hey, report to training camp in great shape. If you don't have much control over that at the D3 level, obviously D1 level, you probably take some more summer classes, get to work with the strength and conditioning coaches. Sometimes at the D3 level, that's not possible. So
Hmm.
I don't envy our football coach, but we're in the same boat a little bit as far as November and December. We're at the mercy of how much they worked on their own, and to me, that's about loving baseball.
Yep.
That's about wanting to get better and not just love the games and love getting, you know, a game winning double or throwing a shutout. To me, that's about loving the training process. That do you love going down to our field house with no coaches around, playing catch with your roommate and trying to work on your slider? Do you love being out at our hitting building? And we're lucky at Wartburg, we have beautiful facilities to be able to do these things. But do you love going in there? And the only time that you could get in there was at 9:30 at night, and you're going to work on hitting left-handed breaking balls in our batting cage. Do you love that process? So you got to love baseball. And then another one for us is leadership. Everybody talks about leadership. We really don't love the saying lead by example. In some ways, that's a cop out. It's just doing what you're supposed to do. And obviously, there's value in that. But as far as a leader goes, you need to influence the behavior of other people. And so that's one of the first things I ask coaches when I talk to them about their players is, hey, does this person influence the behavior of other people? And I can think of somebody that I just talked to at the clinic. I know you guys were there, about a player, and he was just raving about his ability to bring his teammates along and make his teammates better and hold his teammates accountable. That's the good stuff right there. That's when if you can put a bunch of those guys together, you have a chance to do something special. Next one for us, you have to love winning. So obviously we try and get people from winning programs. It's not the only thing we look for. But we got to have people that love to win. Because there's a difference in the attention to detail you have in practice if you love to win and hate to lose. And so we try and find that and ask around and get that as much as possible because we think those guys give a little extra sometimes. We're a developmental program. We recruit good high school players, but we also think it's our job to get you better when you're here throughout your 4 years. So you got to love to be coached. That's a big part of that. If I walk up to you in the batting cage when you're hitting and you're one of those players, and sometimes freshmen are like this, and you're like, oh, what's he going to say to me? Is he evaluating me? No, we don't play a game for 8 months. I'm not evaluating anybody. I'm trying to help you get better in the fall.
Yeah.
And so you got to love that. You got to want that feedback. You got to accept that criticism at times. And that's how we learn and grow. And sometimes the best way to learn and grow is to get in there and screw it up in a fall scrimmage and have a coach get that corrected immediately. And that's okay. That's all part of the development process, the educational process. A couple more that I'd share with you is you got to love strength and conditioning. We're really lucky at Wartburg that we have a baseball alum as our strength and conditioning coach. You have to love that. I think the maturation process from 14 to 18 when I was a high school coach is pretty big. I think 18 to 23 might be bigger. Our seniors look like grown men sometimes, and sometimes an 18-year-old he still looks like a boy, and so that's why we turn him into Coach Hayes in the weight room, and he gets them right in there over the course of time, and even some of our freshmen this year have put on 15 to 18 pounds of muscle here even in the first semester, and so you got to love that. You got to love that process because that's a big part of being a Division III athlete. Is that there are limitations to how much I can do in certain times of the year, but there isn't limitations on that. So you got to love that and be involved in that. And the last thing I'd say is this is hard to look for in the recruiting process, but we try as much as possible. We love players that solve problems. What's the opposite of solving a problem? If you're a victim, if you blame other people, if you make an excuse, if you defend bad behavior, those are things we don't want in our program. You got to be a problem solver. And what a great life skill, right? That 23 years old, you're going to get a degree from Wartburg and you're going to walk out into the real world. Are we going to have some professional baseball players? Yeah, we had one a couple years ago. But for the majority of our players, they're going to go on to other things outside of baseball. And those problem solving skills that we recruit to and train when they're here, we think can last them a lifetime as well.
Well, no doubt about it. Again, ladies and gentlemen, Coach Klender joining us here on our Prospect Planner segment. Again, make sure to check it out. Brought to you by RDA Financial. Now, also, Coach, you alluded to it. You were talking about it a little bit here. But when it comes to guys at different levels, right? Guys coming out of the high school ranks versus already been in college for a little bit, have already seen that. I'm sure you've gotten a mix of both. Is there a different way that you approach more of a seasoned guy who's come in from a different program versus a newbie coming in, just getting acclimated to college ball? I mean, is there a difference, or is there a difference in the way you approach those guys, or is it just kind of more of the same?
That's an excellent question. There is a difference, and quite frankly, it's kind of a big difference.
Yeah.
For the guys that have already been in college, they want the bottom line. They want to know your depth chart. In some ways, it's a business decision for them. So they want to know exactly what's going on and who's at that position and what are our needs and what are our philosophies. I think they're interested in Wartburg's awesome facilities, but not as probably as much as the high school guys that walk around with wide eyes through our weight rooms and our turf field and some of that stuff. They're like, no, 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 and they'll ask really good questions. Some of the transfers, they'll say like, what hours do you lift and what hours? There's some really good questions. How late can I get in the batting cage? Some
Mm-hmm.
things that maybe I had one transfer ask me about how often do we issue parking tickets? All the things that college kids care about more so than the high school is a little bit on the other side of that. They're both fun. They're both great, but certainly it seems to be more of a direct business conversation with the transfers. But I tell the
Mm-hmm.
transfers the same thing I tell the high school kids is that I'm not going to make you any promises if you come here. Yes, you're having a more direct conversation with me because you've been around the block a few more times. But if you're coming in and we're gonna promise and guarantee you absolutely zero, and you will earn every time you trot out there to the mound or to the outfield or wherever we put you. We don't guarantee positions. We don't guarantee anything, and so you'll earn everything when you're here, and you can have peace of mind knowing that.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And again, ladies and gentlemen, Coach Klunder joining us here on the Prospect Planners. We continue to talk on, and again, a lot goes into the season, the preseason, everything that goes with that here. And Chad, I'll let you get to this one here, but man, I just want to say, man, it is the job of a coach here certainly never seems to end. And I guess before we get to Chad here, I did want to ask Coach Klunder, is there a time window when you take a look at what you do from a coaching perspective? You're with the team, you're with everybody so often, so much. You talked about time with family. Uh, is there a time where you find yourself having to separate from it, like almost being forced to? I know family's big and very important to you as well, but the game of college coach certainly. I don't think there's much rest, even in the off season for sure. Uh, have you yourself, the way that your competitive nature you are, have you had to force yourself outside for a little bit and away from the game?
That's a great question, Andrew. And the answer is yes. I think we're all, to get in this profession, we're all
Mm-hmm.
competitive, which makes us a little crazy, and that's okay. Um, and we all want to win, and we all know that it's easier to coach better players, and so we all want to be out there on the recruiting trail all the time. Here's the first thing I'd say about that is yes, I'm a family man. I got a 6-year-old son who's going to turn 7 here in February, and my favorite part of the day is hanging out with him.
Yeah.
And what allows me to do that is that I have wonderful assistant coaches. And so, uh,
Yep.
from Hunter Destival and Tyler Willis, they kind of hit the road a lot. Matt Maluski works in admissions and hits the road for us. And so we're lucky to have as many coaches in the recruiting process as we do. And um, that allows us all to take a piece of it. But certainly the heavy lifting is honestly, especially in Iowa, Hunter and Tyler are
Yeah.
getting after it like crazy, and they're at a lot of high school games. The beauty of being a college coach in Iowa is that the recruiting season is different than the playing season.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel sorry for basketball coaches that they got to play. Our basketball coach will play here today on a Saturday, and probably like on Monday and Tuesday before they play on a Wednesday, he'll be at 2 high school games. So I don't know when they ever see their family. So the beauty for us is that it's 2 different seasons, but also that makes it challenging too, right?
Yeah.
Like my son and wife in the middle of May say, "Hey, you're home for a while," and I'll be like, "Yeah, I'm on the way to Waukee to go watch a high school game." So that's hard too. But being able to divide that up with our wonderful assistant coaches that have a passion for recruiting too is great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that the other part of that is it never feels like work when you're working with people you like. We kind of got the band back together when we got here at Wartburg. I had worked with a couple of these guys previously. I'd worked with Matt Maluski before. I had actually coached Hunter Destival and Tyler Willis, and I know you had Kyle Dupic on the show a while back. We
Yeah.
got him back in the mix. I had worked with Corey Carlson, Jared Perkle, and so um, we kind of got a friend group back together, if you will. And boy, does that make it fun. When I show up in the office in the morning and hang out with some of my best friends, it doesn't feel like we're going to work, even if
Yeah.
even if we're doing things that aren't as fun, like budget meetings and you know
Yeah.
trying to figure out how we're going to pay for flights to Florida and stuff. even the less fun things we do, it's a lot of fun when you do it with people. The time of the year that I try and really set away, I mean, one of the benefits of being a baseball coach is that it seems to me from Thanksgiving to Christmas, we just talked about how the players got to work on their own at that time.
Yep.
The flip side of that is that doesn't, college baseball doesn't tear into my holidays too much. Whatever my family has planned, visiting grandparents and things like that, it doesn't take me away too much from those types of things. It's not a heavy recruiting time. Quite frankly, we're pretty much done by the time the holidays roll around, and so that's a time that we can really spend with our families, and that's enjoyable too.
Hey guys, Andrew Brown here with IA Baseball. I've got something very, very fun for you to talk about just shortly, and we've got a whole lot more conversation yet to get to. But for right now, I got a really cool thing for all the coaches out there, and it is called Hitting Approach. It's the cost-effective app that works with TrackMan data and beyond to help you as coaches and players get ready for the next game. Why? Because it has post-game analysis right when the game is done, charts, graphs, spreadsheets, analysis up the yin-yang right for you to use and digest right then and there. That's right, it's all there. The post-game analysis is fantastic. Plus, a thing that I love is that it helps the players as well. That's right, they can get the app on their phone, and questionnaires can be sent out after every game asking them about how they did, how they performed in certain situations, what their feelings are, so that you can get real-time feedback before the next game. It truly is simple like that. And by the way, very versatile. You can use it for batting practice, for pitching practice, for just general practice and beyond. The thing is, guys, it's made by coaches for coaches. That's right. They're using it at the JUCO level, D2 and beyond. And they designed it specifically to help you not spend hours putting data into a spreadsheet late at night. You can get all of that coming to you in a simple, easy, digestible format, and you can use it for the players as well. It's a holistic approach. So take a look at hittingapproach.com, get yourself a free trial, and I guarantee you will not be disappointed. Check them out today by hittingapproach.com. Get that free trial. And hey, tell them IA Baseball sent you.
Yeah, hey, that's all great information. And I guess I'm going to kind of close up here. I'm going to do like they do on Hot Ones. I don't know if either of you have seen Hot Ones, but
one of my favorites, Chad. One of my favorites.
At the end, they ask, is there anything that you want to promote? So you have a fundraiser that your team does, or you need to get some money for your flights to Florida. What's going on at Wartburg to try and help you guys succeed as a baseball team from a financial standpoint or community outreach?
That's a great question, Chad. Our big fundraiser is in November. So if everybody wants to mark their calendars for 11 months from now or 10 months from now, our big push day will be probably sometime in the beginning of November again. And if you're an alum or previous supporter or supporter of one of our players, you'll probably get a text message and a link to give some money. But I'd just say right now, the season, we hop off to Jacksonville, Illinois, play 3 really good teams in a round robin format in Jacksonville at the end of February. And then March 1st, we go to Florida. And they try and match you up on your previous year's schedule. So we got bumped up. They don't really call them brackets, but certainly a couple of tiers here. And we're looking forward to that. I don't think in Florida we play one team with a losing record.
Nice.
So we'll play 7 really good opponents down there. That'll be a tough challenge for us. But all of it is to just prepare for conference play. Like we said, we need to play our best baseball in May. And we come back and we have some fun things planned throughout our season. Junior Visit Day. We're going to honor some different people at games and stuff, and so we're looking forward to a really, really fun season, and we really appreciate you guys having us on, give us a chance to talk about our season, talk about our players too.
And then one more thing here before I let you go, and I only say this because I don't know if this is just kind of odd. By the way, this is recording right now, but I think you mentioned Tyler Willis. I think he's somehow hearing this here, Coach, because I got a message from him, and Actually, one of his tweets that I saw earlier, and I wanted to get your take on here as well. We've talked about it once before, Chad and I, but he has been, and I've had a conversation with him about kids coming in from high school who have played so many different sports, multiple sports, everything that goes on there. I know that obviously college it's different, and you kind of have to narrow your focus in there. One, what's it like to try and what's the process to, or is it much of a process to get them to narrow in on one thing as opposed to what they were used to in high school? And how much do you value guys who have been able to do multiple sports successfully as opposed to guys who come out of high school simply going in one direction with baseball?
Yeah, I'll start off by saying that obviously in Iowa with the 4 sport seasons,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little easier to play multiple sports, and in general, I think that's a great thing.
Yeah.
To play. I'm from a 1A school. I played 4 sports, one at a decent level, 3 at a very adequate level, and and so yes, if we can, it shows athleticism. I do
Mm-hmm.
think you have to love baseball though.
Yep.
And so if you're a guy in high school that's, picked up a bat from May 1st to the middle of June and then kind of put it down, that can be a tough transition. Obviously, we think there's a lot of growth that can happen with that, and we've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of a pitcher on our team that came from a real small school and played 4 sports, and boy, he got here and just gained weight like crazy, and he gained miles per hour in that arm, and he took a jump almost immediately when he got here, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But you have to have a personality like his, and that you have to love it because now you're not just playing. It's not practicing a sport for a week and then competing, practicing a sport for a week and then competing at the next sport, and you
Mm-hmm.
know dusting off the basketball shoes and going to play a full season of basketball. You have to love baseball enough that we think, because there's no games in sight really in D3. You start
Yeah.
practice in the fall, and we don't play until February 22nd, as you just mentioned. And so you have to love that training. And so we look for that too. And there's certainly, that's not an either or thing.
Yep.
You can be both of those things. But we do think you have to love baseball. And yeah, Coach Willis he likes when I come on these things and promote, and he's always thinking about recruiting, as you know from following him on
Yeah.
Twitter. And Coach Destival is about the same way, and they're a lot younger and cooler than I am, so they talk to recruits and probably do a better job than I do. And they hook me up with nice things to wear for these things. Coach Destival designed this. I'm not cool enough to do that. I know how to use Twitter as far as the retweet button. And
There you
usually
go.
it's somebody coming into my office and saying, hey, can I log onto your Twitter and hit the retweet button on a couple of these things? We got a fundraiser coming up, or our clothing store's up, or, Coach, do you know how to hit the retweet button? That's about all I can do. I read some articles on Twitter. Either I watch your show,
Yeah.
sometimes that
Thank you.
pops
Yeah.
up. And then I read Will Armstrong write about the Hawkeye football team. One of our players actually writes for the Hawkeye football team. So
Yeah.
I'll read those articles once in a while. And that's about the extent of my social media. Luckily, I know my weaknesses, and so I hired a couple of guys that are young and cool and can tweet and talk to all the recruits and talk them into visiting Wartburg College.
Oh man, and I gotta say, ladies and gentlemen, get out there and check it out. One, the field. You mentioned the field. That's amazing. Love the field and everything in there. Love what Coach Dupic is already doing on social media as well as you mentioned. Love the fact that we get real cerebral with him, and got to give a shout out at, like you said, Coach Willis. I see him everywhere as I do you, Coach. I see Coach Dupe. I've seen him everywhere as well. And one of the things that little shout out, I do like the Coaches Association for the fact that, now Coach Dupic, don't be too mad at me here. I did overhear a conversation he had with Eric Jagers, who's Vice President of Pitching for the New York Mets. And the conversation they had, they might as well have been speaking a different language. And I feel I know baseball, but they are just leaps and bounds. So, again, Coach, I think it's really a testament to not only the facilities you guys have, what you can provide for any athlete coming there, and the experience is beyond top notch, but the coaching staff as well. You guys are, whether it is the retweet button, which is strong, that's a strong skill. Don't get me wrong there. But, guys like, assistant coaches also not only, I mean, they are where the students are, they are where the players are. And so it really makes it feel like, the holistic experience. So kudos to, again, everybody in there. And of course, from strength conditioning all the way up to you as well. Great staff. And of course, you guys do a phenomenal job with that.
Well, I really appreciate that. And yeah, when Coach Dupick and Coach Maluski start talking pitching and I end up in one of their staff meetings or one of their player meetings, I'm taking notes right along the players because they're, they're at a different level on some of that stuff. And I know that I've been on Twitter enough to see that Coach Dupick's been putting some stuff out there.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things sometimes when he puts something out there that I have to like highlight it and say like, hey, Google, can you translate this for me? Put this back into English. And so when I hear some of the things, I had somebody stop me the other day and said, "Hey, what's the pitchers doing tonight?" A high school coach was going to come to practice, and he said, "What do you think the pitchers will work on next week?" And I'm like, "I'll check with Coach Maluski and Coach Dupick. I saw some practice plans, but so some of that's a little over my head." So when he starts talking about ecological dynamics with the vice president of pitching for the Mets, that's a high level conversation. But I will say, we're being funny here, but at the same time, he breaks that down for the players. Those tweets that he puts out, and some of the stuff that he's been doing, and the way he can talk it with Eric Jaggers and stuff is really impressive. But also, I've sat in our pitching meetings before and watch him break that down to very simple forms for our players. And so I love the player development systems that those two guys have on the pitching side, and then our hitting coaches. And defensive coaches on that side. And again, I would probably shout out Wartburg that they support us this way to have this many good quality coaches to be able to give these guys the best experience. We have a full, an infield coach, an outfield coach, a catching coach, a couple different hitting coaches, pitching coaches. And so that we can get really specific training because baseball is unique that way, that what a third baseman does in practice probably should look different than what a catcher or a right fielder or a PO does in practice. And I really believe in that. Probably in another life, I'd have been a football coach. I love the specific training of that. And then there's periods of practice where you all come together and do some team defense and things like that. But, baseball is a very specific, unique sport that when you walk up to bat, you're the only one playing for us unless we have somebody on base. And so it's an individual sport that way. And I feel like our coaches have put together systems in place to maximize player development. And some of that they've been putting on Twitter. It's not my thing, but I know it's their thing, and that's okay too.
Man, they do a great job. Everything works well. And again, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of things when it comes to Wartburg and, of course, what Coach Klunder and the rest of that crew do. Again, great work there. And ladies and gentlemen, you can catch what they're doing. I mean, anywhere. All the coaching staff is on social media, and it does a great job. And of course, make sure to catch them out in Waverly. Fantastic venue. They go a lot of places and do a lot of things. And so, Coach, I know right now, man, I could ask you so many questions, and I think I'm gonna have to have you on at least a couple more times because we got more coming your way. But really appreciate the time here. I know that practice will be there, and you'll be into it again, and life will seem normal. I know you probably missed game competitions up to this point, but really appreciate you taking the time this morning.
Andrew, Chad, thanks again for having me on. And thanks for everything you do for baseball at all levels in Iowa. Love the show, and you guys have a great spring here too.
Well, thanks you very much. And again, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to check out Coach Klunder and everybody there at Wartburg. Here again for Andrew Brown and Chad Erickson, we are saying sayonara. This has been your Prospect Planner. Make sure to check them out more of those segments on YouTube and, of course, across social media. And until we see each other next time, stay safe on the base paths.